sit back and do nothing. You really need to get out there. They depend, and there are so many great conservatives running in local races like state legislature, even city council or county government, and they just don't have the funds the bigger campaigns do, and they rely so much on people who are willing to put in a few hours every week to make a difference and get the word out.
Texas is one of the states where a railroad commissioner carries highway. Be sure and get the right man in office, and be sure and drop him a note there and know what's going on.
You made a really good point. Railroad commissioner in Texas is a very important job, and it's a misnomer. They don't really deal with railroad issues. They deal with oil and gas issues. Okay, and that's big, obviously, in Texas. Another important office is your state board of education. Whoever's elected to that position has tremendous influence over what goes into our textbooks, what the standards are. You know, that area has been under great attack by the left. The left wants to get in there and put their ideology in there and educate our children to believe terrible things about the United States of America and teach them wrong ideas about our founding and our history and what we hold to be American values. And so it's so important to have conservative people who are going to stand up for the right things on a position like the State Board of Education. And the final thing, and I want people to really understand this, your own school board. Very, very powerful position. People don't think so, but let me tell you, the State Board of Education might decide what textbooks are approved or what you can put in textbooks, but the school board can say, to heck with that, we're going to buy our own textbooks and teach the kids whatever we want. And these are our curriculum standards, and this is what we want the students in our district to learn. And not only that, but they have the ability to call for bond elections and raise your taxes through the roof, and a lot of them do that. And these are well-intentioned, well-meaning people most of the time, and there's this whole culture built around school boards and educating school board members, basically to do whatever the superintendent tells them to do, and you have to just agree with him, and it's wrong. It's wrong. Their job is to look out for the best interests of the students and make sure that the students are getting the best education possible. And they really need support from good conservative people who are going to steer in the right direction. We need good conservatives elected to those positions. And we need to call them on the carpet if they're spending tax dollars the wrong way or trying to teach the wrong things within the school. So, do you have something else to add?
One of the things, if you do, what you do is send a letter to anybody. Anybody. Always go to the internet and find at least 6 or 8 Jewish people, such as the Attorney General of the state, the Attorney General of the United States, but a whole bunch of others, the Texas Railroad Commission, the governor, the Congress. Now, address your letter just like you were taught in school. Right here on the right-hand side, you put the list of everywhere you send a copy. Now, odds are the person you're addressing that letter to will never see it. But one of his office personnel or one of her office personnel will. And the first thing is going to pop in my mind, oh my God, what am I going to do if so-and-so called me and said, what did you do about so-and-so? You're more likely to get
And if you guys couldn't hear him in the back, what he's saying is if you write a letter to an elected official, be sure and copy the letter to several other people in positions of power, like maybe the governor, the railroad commissioner, attorney general, etc., and copy that letter to them. And that way, if your legislator is gets this letter, or his staff member gets the letter, they'll see that, well, I'm not the only one who saw this. Someone may be calling me to find out what did I do about the issue. So that's a good piece of advice. Yeah. Okay. Number 5 on the list is join organizations that can keep you informed and up to speed about issues. Organizations like Americans for Prosperity, and I told you that we send out a weekly email newsletter that just gives you the key issues here in Texas and in the national level and the ways that you can get involved and make a difference. But there are lots of organizations, and you guys are already in an organization. You know, there's strength in numbers. You guys can do a lot here. Jesus and his 12 disciples changed the world. So a group of, 60 people in a room in a Mexican restaurant can probably do a lot of good. Attend events. Government, public policy decisions are made by those who show up. So that's why it's important to go to your meeting. If you're the only one at the school board meeting saying, you know what, I don't think spending money on this particular area is a good idea, and here's why. And there's nobody else there to argue against you, chances are they're going to hear what you have to say and be more inclined to listen. And then it goes the other way. If someone's out there saying, you need to spend money on this program, and this program, and this program, and this program, but nobody's there to say, no, wait, maybe not a good idea, who are they going to listen to? Okay, so government goes to those who show up. And also along those lines, attend events, show up at other public meetings. I know you guys are going to the county fair, and that's a really great way to get your word out and just meet folks who may not usually be plugged in the way that you are, and be able to get your word out, your message out that way. So good job on that. And finally, end taxpayer-funded lobbying. How many of you guys here have heard of taxpayer-funded lobbying or know what it is? That's good. Quite a few of you. 5 years ago, that was a brand new idea that most people have never heard of. And my boss, Peggy Venable, has really been the champion leading the cause, leading the fight on this issue. What taxpayer-funded lobbying is where local governments or organizations like the Texas Municipal League or the Texas Association of Counties gets tax money, but either directly or through membership fees. They get the tax dollars and then they go and hire lobbyists to go to Washington, D.C. or go to Austin, Texas and lobby against taxpayer protections or to lobby for higher taxes. The best example of this, last year during legislative session, a number of North Texas cities hired Hilco Partners. It's a big, big lobbying firm in Austin. Millions and millions of dollars, tax dollars, were sent to this company to lobby for the local option gas tax. That's what it was called. It was a complete misnomer. What this would have done was allowed counties to vote county by county to decide whether they want their taxes and fees raised to pay for transportation. Right now, transportation votes happen city by city. So it really would have taken away that local option. No way a city like Arlington, if they voted against public transportation for something, but then the city of Fort Worth wanted it, Fort Worth voters would outweigh Arlington voters, and Arlington voters wouldn't get their choice. But right now they can. But these North Texas cities banded together, sent a bunch of tax money to this lobbying firm and lobbied to have these new taxes put in place. Thankfully, that bill died, but it's going to rear its ugly head again this next legislative session. And we're going to be calling on people to come. And, we, as Americans for Prosperity, lobby the legislature. I go, and my boss goes, and we talk about, we ask the legislature to vote in favor of things that will put more money in taxpayers' pockets, or vote against things that are going to raise our taxes. So I guess technically we're considered lobbyists, but we don't have the millions of dollars of funding coming from taxpayers to support the taxpayers' best interest. We rely on the taxpayers coming in and weighing in themselves, coming to Austin or writing letters to elected officials or calling them and letting them know we're not going to stand for this. So really taxpayer-funded lobbying is an inequity. We don't have the option to take tax money and lobby for our interests, but sometimes our city officials, I've even seen school districts and water utilities and hospital districts and many, many tax collecting entities taking public dollars and lobbying for more tax dollars. So if anybody has any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Let me say one other thing. We've got one of our biggest efforts going on right now, and you may have heard of it, is our November is Coming effort. And we've got a petition online at novemberiscoming.com that you can sign, and you're telling Washington, D.C., anybody in Washington, if you voted for bigger government, any stimulus bill, the health care bill, cap and trade, or anything else that's going to grow the size of government or grow the amount of government spending, we're going to vote against you in November. And I encourage you guys to go to that website right now, or when you get home, and sign the petition. It's a really simple way to weigh in and be involved. There's strength in numbers. If folks in Washington, D.C. see that millions of people are fed up with this, and they're not going to stand up for this, then, the message will be there. And I think they already see that message. I think the liberals in Washington are shaking in their boots.
What's that say?
novemberiscoming.com. Yep. All right, now, does anybody have any questions? Yes. Okay. woman asked, she lives in Groveton. How does she get the information on Groveton? Groveton ISD. Okay. If the Texas Bond Review Board, which is that paper that I gave to you, the web address is at the very bottom of this page. Okay? It's right there at the very bottom. So you can go to this website and do a search for Groveton ISD, and it'll bring up all of the debt that Groveton ISD has. Okay, so if you don't live within these, if you don't live in Trinity County, or if you don't live in Trinity ISD at least, you can go and see. And we don't have the City of Trinity on here because the City of Trinity apparently does not have any outstanding bonds, which is great. But if you live in a different city and you think your city might have some bonds, check your city out there because they may be carrying some debt too. And you want to see how much it is and what's it being used for, and is this the best use of the money. Okay? All right, any other questions? I appreciate all of you coming out tonight and inviting me to speak, and I hope it's been informative for you, and it's been wonderful for me, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cindy. I don't know about y'all, but that was a lot of information, and it was good information.